Alright, I'm just gonna sit here and wait for a moment and see who turns up because of my very, very clickbaity description to this video. In the meantime, hello, I'm Monica. Next to me is a cat who may make an appearance. The cat is called Sansa. When I got her 12 years ago, Song of Ice and Fire books were my favourites. I have since refined my tastes, but the cat's name is still Sansa because she's a cat and it's not her fault that George R.R. Martin is a douche. Okay, so, there's a couple of people online, awesome. I've had some thoughts running through my head for the last few weeks about LARP fighting and why everyone sucks at it. Everyone is possibly a little bit of an exaggeration, but quite a lot of people suck at LARP fighting. And in discussion with two different LARP weapons practices I went to, I haven't really formed a conclusion, but I just wanted to throw this out into the ether and see what comes back at me. So, I run, sarcastic quotation marks, I organise the Lancaster Northwest-ish LARP weapons practice, by which I mean I made the Facebook group and I'm the person who schedules events and tends to turn up, which is fine. And our weapons practice in Lancaster, we do not tend to run with rules or any kind of structure. It's very casual, drop in, drop out. But one of the sort of founding principles of the idea of the LARP weapons practice is we understand that when you come to a LARP weapons practice in Lancaster, you may not be fighting people who are safe with their weapons. Because for whatever reason they're out of practice, they've got a new weapon that they want to try out, they've had an injury and are relearning how to hold things, or you know, they're just in a bad mood, or something's got their backs up and they're maybe not pulling the blows as much as they should. So it is, if anyone came to us and said, I want to come to LARP's weapon practice, but I don't want to be hit so hard, like, we would accommodate that, but ultimately the idea is it is a safe place for people to come and be unsafe, because when you first pick up a LARP sword and go and try and fight in a big melee with it, you're not going to be safe because you've never hit anyone with it before, you don't know what you're doing. And so I'd rather do that in a situation where people have opted into the fact that these people are fighting with weapons that they are currently unsafe with the aim of becoming safe with them. So that's how Lancaster runs it, and that is my philosophy. It is a rare occasion in Lancaster's LARP weapons practice that someone does not come away bleeding for one reason or another. Turns out you can make people bleed with LARP weapons. I was as surprised as anyone. It's become a sort of running gag. So, hello Sansa, you want to join in? You're a LARP weapon, aren't you? Stupid fuzzy moron. Okay, that's just going to be going on behind me, so deal with it. So, we go to our LARP weapons practice and we are unsafe with the view of being safe. So I had the great privilege of hanging out with the squad who run from York the other weekend, and they have a very, very different philosophy for teaching new people or unsafe people how to weapon. They tend to start by the principle of get your swing looking right, and basically you don't even make contact at first, you just sort of practice the swings and you practice your footwork and then you make contact, which is good when you are playing in LARPs that emphasise heroic fighting, but is not necessarily the most realistic scenario when, say, you're at a fest LARP and you're on a battlefield with at least 400 people and everyone is screaming. I think I'm going to make a gross overgeneralization, but I think in the heat of an Empire melee battle, like, your brain does not know that this is make-believe. As far as your brain is concerned, something is running at you with a weapon and wants to hit you with it. And logic brain says this is all make-believe and I can deal with it. And lizard brain said, oh, we're under attack, what do I do? And you just kind of flail. And I think everyone has had a moment like that, even the people who have been doing this for decades and decades, even the people who do like actual real sword fighting. It is sometimes very difficult to maintain your composure and maintain your calm enough to fight safely when everything is happening all at once. So, York do it one way, Lancaster do it another. It's the War of the Roses all over again. I think both styles are valid, but I had this talk with both fight clubs before we started, which was after discussion with a few friends, I am trying to determine why blows are unsafe. And it's got sparked because of an incident that happened at a LARP I actually attended a couple of weeks ago now. So I was using a shield that I'd found on the floor and a stab safe throwing javelin, which again had been just discarded on the floor. Standing in an impromptu shield wall with a shield and a weapon I'm unfamiliar with, and one of the crew members who's playing the baddies for this starts charging the shield wall. Now, I vaguely know this person that's running towards me. He might be watching this video, in fact, so if you remember this incident, feel free to shout up. This person starts running at me, and I'm stood there, and he's telegraphing what he's doing it all right, and basically he throws himself onto the end of this borrowed spear that I've picked up. Now, that was safe. He took the blow, he launched himself onto it as much as he wanted to, and then fell back in a big dramatic falling over motion, and it was fun for everyone. But it got me thinking. He didn't know that when he got to the point where he was about to make contact with the weapon, I wouldn't have thrust forward. And if I'd thrust forward at that point, that would have been an unsafe blow because he was not expecting it, so he would have kept running at me full speed. The end of a stab safe spear, stab safe, bit of a inaccurate description of those weapons. Stab less than lethal, maybe, is what we should rename them. He would have got a collapsible tip spear to the gut, which is painful. That would have winded him, possibly caused bruising, you know, that's... And the only reason that didn't happen is because this crew member trusted me not to thrust forward when he ran onto my spear. And it got me thinking about how fight safety is never one person's, it's never one person's fault when, okay, no, gonna amend that. It is rarely just one person's fault when an unsafe blow is landed, and I'm specifically talking about melee because ranged LARP fighting is a whole can of worms I'm not getting into today. So, I'm talking about this with York and Lancaster fight clubs on separate days, and I'm saying that I would like to understand, especially at Lancaster, where we very much try and hit each other unsafely sometimes because we are trying to test the limits of our weapons, we are trying to test the limits of our ability to pull blows. So it's very, very common to get unsafe swings at Lancaster weapons practice. And what I want to know is, when you take an unsafe swing or something that's a bit hard or something that's hit you somewhere you or the other person wasn't expecting, stop a moment and figure out how you both ended up in that position. You know, so one of the common things that I see, certainly at Fight Club, when we're talking about big melee battles, is slightly different, but one of the most common things we see at Fight Club is being hit on your joints, so like on the side of your knee, getting kneecapped, on your elbows, on your wrists, and also side of the neck, side of the head, and sometimes right in the face. And quite often in the crotch. which I don't care what anyone says is equally as uncomfortable if you've got an innie and an out than if you've got an outie. It is still very unpleasant. So I want to figure out why people get hit in these places. So it's a case of you stop, you're like, okay, where did that blow come in, and why was it there, and why was it hit with too much force? And the answer is normally twofold. But I was specifically thinking about practicing safe defense when you're LARP fighting, because in most of the unsafe blows that happened at both York and Lancaster fight practice, the reason the blow landed unsafely is because the person who was being attacked defended unsafely, or they made a movement that the other person was not expecting. Obviously, you can't account for every single movement that another person is going to make when you're in a melee battle with them. But one of the most common thing was someone is going in for a swing, you know, fairly bog standard middle of the body swing, and the person they are attacking has both stepped forward and lunged down, so their head is now where your sword is going to be when you thought it was going to be the side of their body. And this can happen in a fraction of a second. So that person has just basically parried your blow with their head. They have made the decision to do that rather than blocking the weapon, rather than parrying or blocking something else, or stepping backwards so it doesn't hit them at all. They have put their head where that weapon swing is going. Is that the attacker's fault? Don't know. And this is where I come down on the line that it's both people's responsibility to fight safely, because as we were developing this at Lancaster practice, I started being able to recognise when a blow I was about to land was going to be unsafely. I can see Connor's in the chat. It was actually Connor I was fighting when I came in for a blow to his right shoulder, so on my left. He ducked in a slightly weird way to get out of the way. And I was going for his shoulder, and I very, very nearly got his neck with an unsafe force of blow. But I recognised where my weapon was going, and I was able to actually stop that blow before it hit him in the side of the neck and, you know, garroted my poor friend. But yes, it's putting your head at swing height will make that blow unsafe, and that's not necessarily the fault of the person attacking you. So it's going to be difficult to assign blame, because when you've been hit in a LARP battle and all you really know is that everyone is shouting and it hurts, and you're immediately going to go to the person with the weapon and be like, "Oi, that hurt, you fucker," or even less polite versions of that. But if what you've done is parry a blow with your own head, that is a decision that you have made. Because most people, I think, now I don't know, I'm willing to be wrong on this, I think when you go to attack someone at a mid-level blow, you don't actually expect that person to put their head there. So it's not really something you can necessarily account for, unless you know that this happens and you know to watch for it. The other thing that we've noticed is collapsible tip spears. Parrying collapsible tip spears is an absolute fucker, okay? They are fast, they are pointy, and they come at you from a head-on angle rather than from the side. So it's sometimes very difficult to see where this person is telegraphing they're going to hit you. And your natural instinct is to parry it. And most parries on stab safe spear that I saw at both Lancaster most parries that I saw on collapsible tip spears at Lancaster and York before we identified the problem meant that they were parrying the tip of a collapsible spear. Andrew, I will make it available to watch afterwards. They were parrying the tip of a collapsible tip spear rather than away from their body. They were driving it into their own face or their own crotch. Now, at the point that you make contact with someone's weapon with your weapon, and you are now in control of where that weapon goes. The person attacking you has very, very limited opportunities to change the trajectory of their weapon because you are now in control of that interaction. And if what you choose to do with that is flick it into your own face, I'm sorry, buddy, but that's on you. Now, I'm as guilty of this as anybody else. I am more than happy to admit that I am not the world's best LARP fighter. And I'm as guilty of it as anyone else, so I'm not coming at you from a high horse here. It was more just, it was illuminating to figure out what I was doing as a defender that was causing me to get hurt. And it all comes from me essentially, or me or whoever is being attacked, making movements that make their position even less safe. So if someone is attacking you and you step forwards, suddenly the place they are attacking is not where they thought it was going to be, which means the point at which they would slow their blow down to pull it has now changed, and they may not have time to react to that before they hit you with a full strength swing. You've just been hit with an unsafe, unpulled blow. Was that the fault of the person attacking you? Sometimes yeah, sometimes no. But that is a situation that could have been avoided if both the defender and the attacker had noticed in time that that blow was not going to land where it was supposed to. And it's something that apparently can be taught, because by the end of the Lancaster practice when we were doing this, we were figuring out why we were getting hurt. We were figuring out exactly which parries we shouldn't be using with LARP weapons. LARP weapon fighting is actually quite different to any other like weapons fighting. Like it has a lot of similarities. Things like footwork and blocks are very, very transferable skills. Sometimes the actual swings and blows are very different because in real world fighting you tend to be trying to cut the other person's head off or stab them through the heart, which is really not what we're going for here. Ben's trying to give a lecture because he agrees with it all. Fantastic. I'm glad I'm on the right lines. But yes, so this is my thought, and I don't necessarily have a solution to it other than practicing with your friends and learning to stop and deconstruct how you both ended up in that position when an unsafe blow has landed. Not just the attacker but the defender as well. Like, what did they do? Why did that blow hit that part of their body? Did they move? Did the attacker move? What has happened there? And then you start to be able to recognise when someone's defending unsafely, or you start to be able to recognise when a blow is coming in that you're not going to be able to safely parry, and what you need to do is step back rather than try and block it, parry it, or go in for a counter-attack. So there's not really an easy answer, but I do think this is actually a skill that can be taught. And in all my years of LARP fighting, no one has ever had this conversation with me. That is both at Empire, at our old uni system in Lancaster, at the various other things that I've gone to. This isn't something that's ever like talked about when we're talking about fight practice, we're talking about sparring, we're doing that. Now this is probably because most of us are not trained martial artists with these kinds of weapons or any kinds of weapons. And what we have done is pick this up by trial and error, which is fine. I remember when I had a long hiatus from combat LARP, and I started learning how to fight again, I think in 2016, and it was a very, very bitterly cold New Year's Day. I was in my local park with a couple of friends, including my friend Paulie D, who is a vicious whirlwind LARP fighter. He does not block, that man just attacks and attacks and attacks, and he is fast and he is lethal. And I did not know how to block any of this, and so I told him, look, just keep hitting me, I'm going to get bruised, it's fine, but I need to learn how to deflect these things, and pain is a great teacher, right? But even during that conversation, like, none of the things we were talking about were about actually how to defend yourself safely, how to stop blows from being unsafe when you are the person being attacked. So yeah, there's no easy answers. Other than practice, because as I said, it's a skill that can be learned. or at least be made aware of. Because even if you don't practice it, if you're aware that these things are happening, maybe next time you get hit with an unsafe blow, you won't immediately get really upset and start whinging to a ref, because maybe at that point you will recognise that that unsafe blow has landed because you have put your attacker in a position where that landed unsafely, rather than they hit you unsafely. Or that it's a shared thing. Like, LARP is a combat sport, sometimes shit happens, and we kind of just need to deal with that, because nothing we do is ever going to be 100% super safe, super thing. I think all of us, no matter how skilled we are, would struggle to come away from a LARP weekend without at least one bruise from a blow somewhere. If you have managed that, then congratulations, I will get you a fucking medal. So yeah, be aware of it. Own your own part in that performance. Understand that what you are doing in a fight, especially at LARP, is you're attempting to tell a story with the person you're attacking you, who is attacking you. Why can't I speak tonight? This was a really bad time to do this. Yes, you both have a role to play in telling that story, and that means that the safety of each blow, each block, and each parry is both of your responsibility. So yeah, that is that. There are some specific things that are interesting. So one of the things that we were doing at Lancaster was we were trying out different combinations of weapons in sparring. A friend of mine is looking to get back into combat LARP, and he was looking at using a staff. So he's not done combat LARP for many, many years, and especially not at the kind of scale that us Empire players are used to. So he's like, I need to figure out how to get used to using the staff again. So I come at him with a variety of different weapons, and we work out which weapons he can safely defend against, which weapons he cannot safely defend against, and which weapons he can turn it back around and absolutely mince me with. And the value in doing that is when you find yourself with a weapon and you're fighting against somebody else, you can look at their loadout and be like, I cannot win that fight. I am going to step behind this nice person with a shield here and do something else, because that engagement is not going to work. Particular one that my friend struggled with the staff was staff versus collapsible tip spear. He could not defend from that. There was no way for him to parry with a staff and also attack in a way that was safe for both of us. So it's like, right, lesson here is if you come up against someone with a collapsible tip spear, you run the fuck away. Yeah, things like that. My Empire character uses the comedy bonk stick, the big hammer of bonking, the ban hammer. Subtlety is what its name is, I see. That weapon is ridiculous. No one is good at fighting with it, especially not me. It is a comedy prop and I love it. Can't defend with it, all I can do is attack. So my strategy with it is basically I just need to hit people as fast as I can. But because of how it's constructed, the head of it is basically all very porous foam, so it's a bit like being hit with a pillow. It's beautiful, it's soft, it's very safe to be hit with, but because it has mass, it still knocks you back, and it's still very, very daunting to be like some randomer with just a shield and sword, and what you've got is this woman wailing on you with a pillow on a stick. She might not be able to hit you because you can bring your sword up. Bring your shield up. But that's all you can do from that point forwards. Like, because that hammer isn't going to stop coming, and it's very difficult to defend against, and it's very difficult to counterattack when all your concentration is on not being hit by the giant pillow on a stick. Which means that when people try and counterattack me when I'm doing that, it tends to go very, very badly. Most people know, like, Most people who I end up in that situation with the comedy bonk stick tend to be like, oh, fuck that. That's bollocks. And they leave and go somewhere else. So essentially it's a crowd control weapon. It's got innate repel in it, which is just very funny. But yeah, there are some weapons that it's not safe to defend against depending on your own personal loadout, and you need to be aware of that. And this is why I and everyone else sucks at LARP fighting. Thank you for coming to my Facebook live stream. It's just a little ramble that I have been chewing on for a long time now. Ben, next time we manage to get in any kind of outdoor space together and we have LARP weapons, I will come at you with the comedy bonk stick and you can see just how stupid it is. Like, amazing, but stupid. It looks really cool though. So I'm good with it. I've made life choices there. Yeah, that was it really. That's all I wanted to say today. If anyone has any questions, I'm going to leave this running for a couple of minutes so you can all catch up with my ramble. I'm gonna poke this cat's butt. Mark, yeah, the comedy bonk stick should not be as fast as it is, but it is fast. It's beautiful. Mitch, I did not realise that you'd been on the end of the bonk stick. I assume you were in an orc mask at the time or something. I can only apologise and also cackle because it's just so stupid. Yeah. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Gonna leave this running for another couple of minutes, just to see if anyone wants to come in and say anything, and then I'm going to end the stream and leave this available to view. This video is... I'm glad, Mitch. This video is actually on public audience, so if you want to... I don't know why you'd want to send me rambling about LARP fighting to anybody else, but you can if you want. Like, that's fine. Yeah, weird practice with rewind. Weird practice with rewinds is something that I'm going to be doing from now on, basically, and encouraging that kind of mindset because I think it's super useful. Right, bye Mitch. Thank you for coming. Remember to like and subscribe. Oh, fuck. Ben, yes, I will review any book you send me. I can't guarantee my review will be in any way coherent, but yeah, go for it. Poke the cat. She's not even responding anymore. Cat butt. Hey kitten. Say hi. You smell quite bad. Do you know that? Okay, I think we're done here. Bye everyone.